All right, hi everyone. Thank you so much for showing up to today's track live. I assume a lot of you just got out from online school, so let me know in the chat how that went for you guys. I actually don't have my first class until 5 p.m. today because college schedules are kind of different. So anyways, I'm Miranda. I'm a student at UC Berkeley and the creator of the path that we'll be talking about today, which is unusual animal relationships. And right away, I'll give you guys some quick reminders that if you're a track member and you're attending this live event, you're going to get 50 XP points and an extra 10 XP points for every question that you ask. And if you're not a track member yet, you should go to track.app and check it out. And lastly, make sure that you have a device handy that you can use for Kahoot because we'll be bringing that back today. All right, so let's go over a little quick outline of what we'll be doing during this live event. So first, we'll have an introduction where you guys can get to know a little bit more about me and why I decided to create this path. And I'll also teach you guys the basics of an ecosystem and symbiotic relationships. Then we'll have a little friendly competition and play a game of Kahoot. And we'll end with a Q&A where you guys can ask me anything you want about me or this path or anything in between. All right, so I decided to pick the topic of unusual animal relationships for this learning path because ever since I was little, I've always loved animals. So I wanted to get a dog or a cat or a fish or really any pet for as long as I can remember, but my parents have never allowed me to have a pet of my own. So in this picture, you can see me with my friend's dog, whose name is Taffy. And so whenever I could, I would spend hours watching National Geographic or animal shows like Wild Kratts or even just any animal-related cartoons because those are my favorites. And in high school, I took some biology courses, and it turned out to be one of my favorite subjects. I loved learning about ecology, which is the study of how organisms relate to each other and their surroundings. And one of my favorite topics within ecology was symbiosis, which is the animal relationships that we'll be talking about today. And so any knowledge of ecology and symbiotic relationships that you learn from this path will be useful if you're interested in studying biology or becoming an environmental or wildlife scientist. All right, so I'll start off with a question for you guys, which is, what's your favorite animal and why? And let me know in the chat, and we'll feature the best response at the end of the live stream. Just to give you guys a little context, my favorite animal changes a lot, but for now, it's the manta ray, which is a ray that lives in the ocean and can grow up to 20 feet long. Okay, so Rayhan said his favorite animal is a betta fish because it calms him down for now. That's a great answer. I love betta fish. They're so pretty, and every time I go to the pet store, I have to stop myself from buying one. Nightloxy says an Arctic fox because they're very cute. I agree. I feel like everyone has a soft spot for Arctic animals like polar bears, seals, and Arctic foxes. That's an amazing answer. And from Cloper, I think, my favorite animal is a blue whale since it's the biggest animal. That's a very good one. They are the biggest animal, and I guess the bigger the better. And VM says my favorite animal is a dog because they're really cute and fun to play with. All my cousins have dogs as well. I also love dogs, as you can see from the picture of me with Taffy. All right, so Now I'm going to provide you guys with a little bit of background on the learning path so you're prepared for this Kahoot. So an ecosystem is defined as a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. So this includes living components like you, me, plants, and animals, as well as non-living components interacting in a system. So in an ecosystem, there are different types of ecological relationships within or between species, and this includes symbiotic relationships, which is what we'll be focusing on today. All right, so symbiosis is called the art of living together, and the first symbiotic relationship we'll be talking about is mutualism, which is a positive-positive relationship, which means that both species are benefiting through this ecological relationship. The second type of ecological or symbiotic relationship we'll be talking about is commensalism, which is a positive neutral relationship. So in this relationship, one species will be benefiting and the other just won't be affected. And so lastly, we'll be talking about parasitism, which is a positive negative relationship where one species benefits and the other is harmed. All right, so keep these things in mind as we delve into our Kahoot. All right, so make sure to go to kahoot.it and enter our game pin, which is 8831107. All right, we're seeing some. Love the names. All right, champ. All right, okay, let's begin. All right, so the first question is, what kind of relationship do you think the gray reef shark and the cleaner wrasse fish have? So here's a picture of them together. The options are first mutualism, so both animals benefit. The second option is parasitism, so the shark would benefit and the fish is harmed. The third option is commensalism, so the fish benefits and the shark isn't affected. And the last option is predation, the shark would prey on the fish. So yeah. Okay, so 4 of you guys were correct. The relationship between the gray reef shark and the wrasse fish would be mutualism. So this is something you wouldn't normally expect between a shark and a fish, but what actually happens is that the gray reef shark opens its mouth when it's ready to be cleaned, and the wrasse fish acts as a dentist and sort of eats the food between its teeth and keeps it clean. And so this way, both species benefits. The gray reef shark leaves with a nice dental cleaning, and the fish leaves with a nice meal. All right. Good job, Cloper, for being at the top of our scoreboard. Okay, so our next question is, what kind of relationship do you think the cattle egret and ox have? So here's a picture of them together. Make of it what you will. The first option you can choose is mutualism. Again, both animals are benefiting from their teamwork. Commensalism, which is the egret would benefit while the ox is just unaffected. And lastly, parasitism. All right. Okay. So again, 4 of you guys got the correct answer, which is commensalism. So the relationship between the cattle egret and the ox is that the cattle egret likes to perch or just simply be around ox or cattle, which is where it gets its name from, or bison. And so when the animal grazes, the egret will eat the bugs that it sort of stirs up, while the ox is not affected by the relationship. So that's why it's considered commensalism. Oh, okay. So Ray's gone up. Let's see if they can catch up to Cloper. All right. So our next question is, what kind of relationship do you think a mistletoe and a tree have? So this is a unique relationship. because it's between two plants, which we haven't seen yet. The first option you have is mutualism, both benefiting. The second is commensalism, where one benefits and one is not affected. And the last is parasitism. All right, so seems like you guys are kind of split on this one. So mistletoe is actually a parasite. It's not really what we think of as a parasite in the traditional sense, where we think of like a leech or a mosquito or something buggy. But mistletoe, the plant, actually sucks water and nutrients from its host tree, so it acts as a parasite. Oh, Derek DeMouse is on fire, and Clover's still keeping the lead. Okay, so let's quiz you guys on some definitions now. So what is commensalism? And so your options are a relationship where both benefit, a relationship where one species benefits and one is not affected, a relationship where both species benefits, or a relationship where both species are harmed. So make sure you look at the symbols, try and recall from the presentation and previous questions, and pick your answer. All right, so three of you were correct. Commensalism is the one where one species benefits and one is not affected. So this is going back to the cattle, egret, and ox example that we were talking about earlier. All right, Clover's still keeping the lead. VM's on fire. Okay, so what do you guys think parasitism is? Options are a positive relationship, a negative positive relationship, a neutral relationship, or a positive neutral relationship. Take your time and pick whatever you think is the best answer. All right. Okay, so very split on that one, but parasitism is a relationship where one species is harmed and one is benefited. Think of a mosquito sucking our blood, or um, the mistletoe and the tree. All right, Clover is still in the lead. Not by much though, so let's see if VM will be able to overtake them. Okay, so which of the following animals do we think is not a parasite? Our options are a tick, a spider, a flea, and a leech. So all pretty similar animals in my head, but one of them doesn't actually have a parasitic relationship with anything. All right, so half of you guys were correct. The answer is spider. So a tick, a flea, and a leech all suck a little bit of blood, I think. So that causes damages. They're dependent on a host, while a spider catches bugs, so it has its own food source. All right, Clover's still in the lead. Let's see if they can keep that up. Okay, so our last definition is what do you think mutualism is? Your options are a positive relationship, a positive neutral relationship, a positive negative relationship, and a completely neutral relationship. Okay, four of you guys were correct. It's a relationship where both species benefit. Personally, my favorite type of symbiotic relationship because I like to think that they're friends, like the gray reef shark and the cleaner wrasse fish. All right, Clover is still in the lead, and they have an answer streak of 7. Awesome. Okay, so true or false? Can symbiosis occur between an animal and a plant? Um, yeah, so this is kind of a tricky question, but think about it and let me know. We have 5 answers, waiting on one more. true. Okay, so this actually is true. There can be symbiosis between an animal and a plant, and I was trying to trick you guys with this one because we've seen a relationship between two animals and a relationship between two plants, but we haven't seen one in between. So one example of symbiosis between an animal and a plant is ants and the acacia tree. So the acacia tree provides nectar for the ants, and in return, the ants provide protection for the tree. So yes, symbiosis can occur between a plant and an animal. Let's see. Oh, Clover has a bigger lead now of over 1,000 points, but there's still a couple questions left. Let's see how it goes. All right, so our question is, what kind of relationship do you think a clownfish and an anemone have? Anemone. It's a difficult word to say. Your first option is commensalism. One benefits and the other isn't affected. The other option is parasitism. And lastly, mutualism. All right, so this one was sort of tricky, but yes, the relationship between a clownfish and an anemone is mutualism. So they're both benefiting because the anemone has stingers, but it doesn't sting the clownfish. It provides a safe habitat for the clownfish to live in because it'll sting the other animals. And the clownfish provides anemone with also protection as well as a meal. So the waste that comes from the clownfish actually feeds the anemone, and it will also chase away predator fish such as the butterfly fish. So if you think of Nemo, so anemone is an animal and the clownfish, and they're friends. All right, Clover is still in the lead by almost over 2,000 points now, so 9 correct answers in a row. They're on fire. All right, and our last question is, which of the following is part of an ecosystem? So your options are animals, plants, rocks, or all of the above. Okay, all of you guys got it correct. Yes, so an ecosystem is all of the above because it includes living factors and non-living factors. So rocks, weather, things that you wouldn't consider to be alive are also contributing to this system. Okay, so let's see the final results. In third place, we have Derek DeMouse, 5. In second place, we have VM. And in first place, we have Clover. All right. Congratulations, everyone. Oh, I love the confetti. Yeah, great job, guys. This is kind of a tricky Kahoot, but I think you guys did a good job. And hopefully you learned a bit. Okay, so we'll be finishing with a little bit of Ask Me Anything time. So feel free to go in the chat and ask me anything you want. So some experiences I could tell you guys about is volunteering at an animal farm during high school, being editor of my school newspaper, which is something I was really involved in high school, and some of my favorite subjects at school now. All right, so we have a pre-submitted question from Devin, which is, do you have any pets? So sadly, I do not have any pets. I've always wanted one. I used to have a fish, but we actually gave it away to our neighbor. But I think he's still doing well. Hopefully, after I'm out of college, I can get my own pet. Nightloxy asks if I could have any pet, what pet I would have. Let's see, that's a great question. I think I would probably get a dog right away. But I'm also really into reptiles. I like snakes, which my parents are definitely not a fan of, but I love them. So I'd love to get a snake at some point. I love cats. I'm on both sides of the cat dog debate. So I would want them to be friends, but honestly, my dream is to just live on an animal farm and just be surrounded by different kinds of animals. Derek the Mouse 5 asks, are you in my first, second, third, or fourth year in high school? So I'm actually in college. I graduated from high school this last year, and I'm a freshman in college now, which has been sort of a crazy experience just because everything's online and there's a lot of transitioning to happen. But I'm sure you guys can relate as well. VM asks if it's possible to be a symbiosis where both entities are harmed. That's a really good question. So I think that comes down to competition, which is a type of ecological relationship, but not a type of symbiotic relationship. So symbiotic relationships are relationships where one species is benefiting, but in competition, let's say two species live in the same environment and they're competing for the same resources, you could say that both of them are being harmed. And Nightloxy asks, what type of dog would you get and what would you name it? That's an amazing question because I have the answer for both. I really want a German Shepherd dog. I've always loved them since I was little, especially since my dad really likes them. So our whole family has really been stoked about German Shepherds. And I honestly have a list of animal names, child names on my phone. And I think I would name my dog Harlow just because I think it works for both a male and female dog. And it's honestly, it just sounds really great to me. And I think would be an amazing dog name. Derek DeMouse asks, oh, is it Dirk DeMouse? I'm sorry if I've been pronouncing it wrong. Asks if I play any sports. So currently I don't play any sports, but up until my freshman year of high school, I did figure skating since I was very little. And honestly, it's something that I really enjoyed, but I sort of had to put to the side because I had a really big workload and I was struggling to balance my classes with extracurriculars. But definitely during quarantine, I've missed ice skating a lot. So I hope once we're out of this or once the rinks open again, I can just go recreationally for fun. Because I feel like skating rinks are always a good place to have a birthday party or just hang out with friends. And VM asks what my least favorite animal is. All right, so I feel like I don't dislike any animals, but if I had to pick one, it would also relate to my first favorite animal, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, is the manta ray. So the manta ray is actually part of a symbiotic relationship with the remora fish. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it before, but the remora fish has a sucker head and it attaches to different marine animals like the shark, manta ray, whale, and it sort of just hitches a ride. And so scientists sort of debate whether this relationship is commensalistic or parasitic because for the most part, the remoras don't harm their host. But when there are too many remoras on a manta ray or a shark or whale for that sort, it can sort of create drag and make it hard for the animal to move fast enough. And they can also rub their skin raw from just being attached too much. So it's sort of a borderline commensalistic parasitic relationship. But personally, I just don't really like remoras because I guess I see them as sort of parasites on my favorite animal. Devin asks what exactly I did on the animal farm and what animals were there. Amazing question. So I was a volunteer at the Animal Assisted Happiness Animal Farm for a little bit, and they had a ton of different animals. I believe they had goats, rabbits, guinea pigs, and more. Um, I think mostly what I did was tend to the rabbits. So they had a ton of rabbits on the farm, like 30 something, and they each lived in these little hand built houses, which were really cute. And so on Saturdays, I would go to the farm and we would clean out their hay, change their water and food, and make sure that they had a happy place to live. And we'd also take them out sometimes and play with them, only one at a time, and making sure they were supervised. But it was definitely really fun, and I love rabbits. All right. So now that we're at the end of our live, I can pick my favorite response from earlier, and I think that would be Rayhan's answer for his favorite animal being a betta fish because it calms him down. Um, as I mentioned before, I really love betta fish, and definitely I like looking into like aquariums and um, animal care and that sort. So I would say that's my favorite response. All right, so um, thank you guys so much for attending this live today. I hope you guys had fun and learned a lot. Make sure to check out this learning path Untracked, where you actually get to create your own picture book with the animal relationships that you guys learned. And you can click the link in the description, or we can put it in the chat as well to check out this learning path as well as my other learning paths Untracked. You guys can also make sure to attend the next live event, which will be tomorrow at 4 p.m. It's another animal learning path called How Do Cheetahs Run as Fast as a Car by Adora, who's another creator. And I've definitely looked at this looked at this path and thought it was super interesting. So I hope you guys join tomorrow. It's again at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and have another fun track live event. All right, thank you so much. Bye, guys.